Next up, we have Ato Mutukwayana, our economics and business instructor at Labai Academy and our college guidance advisor. It's very nice to see you, Ato Mutuku.
Thank you very much, and nice to see you as well.
I have a question for you. So how do you explain the concept of equilibrium in economics?
Well, equilibrium in simple terms means a state of balance. So in economics, equilibrium is defined as a state where the quantity demanded of a good is equal to its supply. And here, both buyers and suppliers agreed upon the same price, and that price is called market price.
So specifically in economics, when quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied, there is market equilibrium. So the forces of supply and demand are in balance, and there is no tendency for the price to change. So remember, at equilibrium, quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. So equilibrium is very important in the market because at market price, the demand curve intersects the supply curve. So that's why the intersection point is called equilibrium. And if we trace the price, that price is called equilibrium price. And if we trace the quantity, that quantity is called equilibrium quantity. So to understand equilibrium further, we need to understand demand and supply. So what's demand? So demand means desire, and this desire comes from consumers or buyers. So the characteristics of demand is when the price of a good increases, consumers are willing to buy less of it. So in the other way, when the price is cheaper, consumers want to buy more quantity of a good. So that's why we have an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. Therefore, the demand curve is negatively sloped. We also need to understand the supply curve. So supply comes from suppliers. So the characteristics of a supply curve is that when the price of a good increases, suppliers are willing to supply more of it. So in other words, we have a direct relationship between price and quantity demanded. Therefore, the supply curve is positively sloped. So graphically, to understand equilibrium, we need to bring demand and supply curves together. So at the point where the demand and supply curve cross, that point is specifically called equilibrium point. So as I said before, once a market reaches equilibrium, there is no tendency to move. Why is that? Because if we move above the equilibrium point, there is a problem, and that problem is called surplus. So here what it means that the quantity supplied will be greater than the quantity demanded. So what this means is that consumers want to buy less of a product while suppliers are willing to supply more than what the consumers need. So this kind of a waste. So in economics we call that surplus. Also, if we move below the equilibrium point, there's a problem, and that problem is called shortage. So shortage means when the demand exceeds the supply. So as we see, consumers and buyers don't want to move above the equilibrium because they're going to run and face a problem.
Thank you so much for that thorough explanation. My second question is, in terms of application, what are the practical applications of equilibrium, let's say in the local context and in a global context?
Well, for example, if you take a local market in Ethiopia, which is a perfectly competitive market, let's take a market for banana. So 1 kilo of banana is sold for 30 birr. So that's the market price. So the market price is essential because both buyers and sellers agreed upon that price. So people have information about how much a banana costs. It also helps us to regulate the market without any government intervention.
So these are the two practical applications of equilibrium in regards to price. And globally, we can take one good example, which is crude oil. And as we know, crude oil is very, very essential for different countries for various purposes. And we need to use crude oil for factories, for cars, for running heavy machines, and so on. So since every economy needs crude oil, everyone needs to keep track of the market price. And as that market price of crude oil goes up and down, it will have a very a very serious impact on the economy. So globally, crude oil is a very good example, and its market price is very, very essential for various economics throughout the world.
Ato Mutuku, we thank you very much for educating us on how the concept of equilibrium is applied in economics. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well.